right, so can I open up with prayer? No. So good morning, and we have something different now for Bible study where Alex and JC are going to brief on the educational mission that's happening in Mattoon with the creation of a high school. And so they'll talk about what the plans are for that. It is a wonderful thing to consider Lutheran education, and I'm not just saying that because my wife teaches there and that we send our kids there, but it is a wonderful place in which your children and grandchildren can be a part of our church, learning true doctrine, and gather together in a place that is comfortable. And I'll give you a good example of that. Allison went to a Lutheran high school in St. Louis. She's not here, so I can say. And when we came here to Sullivan, she went to the high school. The high school is fine, but she feels as though that she always has to be on guard. So there's not a lot of, she can't relax in who she is, in her faith, with her friends, because her friends often don't share it. And what we found is even those who profess to be Christians, I don't think they even know what that means. And so there is a difference in their parents and her friends. And so she remarked on that when she went up to Concordia, Chicago to do a weekend there for going there eventually. And she said she felt like she could relax with the people who were there, that she had something in common with them, and that she didn't have to interpret her words into something that they would understand. They already knew her language. And so that's something to consider, especially in regards to Lutheran education. But let's open up with the word of prayer. Blessed Lord, we give you thanks that you come into this world to redeem all things, to redeem us. Unite us to yourself, to unite us to the triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Lord, we give you thanks that you have called us to teach our young ones, to provide education for them, to train them up in the way a child should go so that they do not depart from you. Lord, bless us always in this. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you for giving us your Sunday school time to talk about this. We have these. We got a few of them out. We'll be passing them around to some tables that don't.
I'll start off by apologizing. We want to usually give you like the A team, and you get us. So I do apologize if this is what you get. But JC and I have been working pretty hard on this project for. Well, JC started this real process, I think, in 2020, as far as trying to look and see what all does our church and school meet at Mattoon. We started a process of adding one grade school or one class per grade school to double up. How long ago?
2014,
2014. We're up to 6th grade next year. Do the math. You can backtrack into it. And we were running out of space. So we needed to do a real deep dive into how are we actually going to make this work. So there was a committee put together in 2020 that looked at it and came up with the suggestion of where we're at today as far as putting a nearly 37,000 square foot facility right where our playground is right now, if you're familiar with where we're located. So that would have 14 classrooms, which would allow for expansion into high school, allow for us to double up. I chuckle a little bit because we're going to be in the same boat here in the near future because we just tripled up kindergarten because we have 60 kids who want to come to school with us. So it's hard to tell kids who are wanting to hear the word and their families that, oh yeah, you were here for preschool, but we don't have space for you now. So we had to make that decision here pretty quick.
We have about 400 students right now and 120 on the wait list. The need is there and the desire is there. So we had to get creative. We found classroom space at the Presbyterian Church that Kim teaches that now, and that is, next year we're gonna be at capacity there. So church is out of room, our school building's out of room, and the neighboring church is out of room. So we had to look to build a new building, and we've been wanting to do a high school for 20 or 30 years, and now is the time. And then we made the brilliant decision to triple kindergarten. So while we're at 400 students right now, in 8 years we should be at 700, not even including the high school. So we're building a 37,000 square foot facility with a high school gym. And we got.
If you couldn't tell, we voted no for the third kindergarten classes.
But we're excited for the opportunity. But yeah, we're just gonna be the same boat again.
So, like JC said, we're at 396 students, I believe. We have 445 registered for next year. So we would be adding a 6th grade class to the 2023-2024 school year. We're also adding the 3rd kindergarten class, so there's where you're getting your other 40. Every class currently is at capacity, and as JC said, I think that 7 out of the 9 grade levels, well, what's that, preschool, all but three of the classes have a wait list. So we have been extremely blessed with expansion, but I don't think that the previous generation, I would say, I don't know if that's the right term, really anticipated this type of growth that we have seen. As far as, I think we have students from 14 communities that come to St. John's. I believe Curtis said we have 45 different churches represented. The Fields in Mattoon is our biggest church as far as people who are attended. St. John's in Mattoon is the 2nd biggest, and then the 3rd biggest is they don't attend. So that is where our mission is. So you have, I believe there are about 15% of the population at our school do not have a home church. So 400 times 15% is what, 60 kids? I did that in my head, by the way, I'm pretty proud of that. And so we've got, that's our mission, and that's where we're trying to figure out how do we get to those children to find a home, potentially at St. John's or another Lutheran church, depending on where they're from.
And we've done, so far the school has done that. We've had several families and several active families that have come to a church or have converted to Lutheranism through the school. We got one family, 4 kids. They made the commitment, 8 years ago or so, that if they're gonna be part of the school, they're gonna be part of the church. So it is a very active and successful mission work. And we would like to expand that to other communities as we can, especially with the other Lutheran churches in the area. There's certainly the need and desire for better education, even a vaguely Christian education, but we want to provide a Lutheran education. So we can see that, like you said, 14 communities represented. You know, if we can get a few more kids from Sullivan, then maybe we can bring some families into faith. That possibility does exist, and it's worked.
And we're spitballing up here, so if it sounds like we're ramping, it's because we are. My biggest concern with with our school, and it's not a matter of its concern with St. John's, it's not to get into politics, but you almost have to, with the way that the state and the country is going at this point in time. With the, I don't want my kids, I don't have 2 girls and a boy, but I have 2 girls who are going to St. John's. If they were to change in front of a boy, I'd probably flip my lid. That would not go over very well. There are a lot of things that are happening that you guys all, you see the news, you read the paper. It is just not what I see, what I want for my kids, which is why I've become so involved in this. I kind of play a lot of different roles, and that's as the treasurer of the church, the chairman of this committee, a husband of a teacher, a parent of kids there. So if there's a role to be filled at St. John's, I'm kind of, or with this school, with this committee, I kind of fill it. And I just don't see a downside to this. There's a lot of things in this world that scare the crap out of me for my kids, and I think if I can shelter them a little bit longer before they take off and go to school that I no longer have that ability, I'm gonna try my best to make that happen. So, I don't know, that was me rambling, your turn.
No, that's fine. So with all that being said, we have the need, we have the desire, we just have to expand so we can fill those needs. So this new building is ambitious. We've partnered with Drake Homes out of Charleston, who gave us a phenomenal rate. I think when we were, our original designs, they came back and said 20 million is what it would cost. We sent out bids to contractors, or bid sheets to contractors to see what they would say. We told them we wanted it under 200?
200 square foot, yeah.
200 a square foot, and half the contractors didn't even submit bids, said, no, we can't even do that. And Drake came back with about 150, was it?
No, 185, we'll say. I think it might be 187. Yes.
But they came back with a really great rate. They're giving us in kind on the building. They've been phenomenal. The Drake family themselves have heavily contributed to the program because they believe in it. They have grandkids and kids in the school. They're not members, they're not Lutheran, but they have supported the program heavily, and they continue to. We hope to break ground this summer. If we can break ground this summer, we're looking at a 10-month build. That means for the 24-25 school year, we can open in a new building with extra space and a fully functioning high school.
We currently, as far as where we're at from a fundraising standpoint, the church has given us the go-ahead once we have $4 million in pledges from everybody, I guess, and $1.5 million of those pledges in cash. We'll be able to we can do the groundbreaking. Currently, we're about $700,000 short of that pledge number. We have a plan to go back and to get that whittled down a little bit. The church was blessed with COVID. We got some pretty decent government money from the payroll protection plan and the ERC program. So we have about $800,000 or so that we are putting down before we even have to worry about going to our membership at that point. So we are making progress. Our goal, as JC said, is we need to get to the $4 million mark before we can make that shovel to the ground. And we're still working hard to get that. Our goal isn't to stop at 4 million; it's to get to 6 or 7, where we wouldn't have much of a mortgage. But we're at a race right now to the 4 million mark.
We have an overall goal of 7 million. If we can get the 4 raised, the roughly 1 million that we have already in the bank as a church, and then we can finance 2. The debt service on the 2, Alex figured out, would be about 150 a year. We made 250,000 at our auction this last year.
Which is a great time, by the way. I love that time. If you guys ever have a chance to make it to the auction.
It is a lot of fun. But we can more than cover the debt service just for that auction. So it's not a situation where we're gonna build this and then not be able to sustain it. We've already got the plan in place, the proven track record of bringing in the money that's needed to sustain it. This is going to be a successful project. We're gonna get it built and continue to grow. But we're going to need help getting it built. So
a little bit about where we're at with the school itself, not the new school, but current St. John's. We do have all of our new teachers hired for next year. As you might know, we had a new principal come in this last year, Curtis Woodkey. He has a lot of work to do. He did a lot of work this last year, but he has a lot more work to get going. We're going through the accreditation process this next year, which from my understanding sucks, but it's doable. And like JC said, we're moving are starting a soft launch for the ninth graders, so I think there are 5 students signed up for ninth grade next year, which I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. I wouldn't have put my kid in it, but that's just me. I think it's like half hybrid type of online learning stuff, which is not our goal. Our goal is to be a fully functioning, traditional, in-home, in classroom experience, like most of us all receive most likely. But we do have all of our teachers lined up for next year, minus I think some aides are still being hired, and we're excited to see where this goes. My wife is going through the process to try to get her, I always say it's wrong, colloquy, is that correct?
Colloquy, yeah.
Colloquy. So she just converted to Lutheran this year. And so she's gonna try to do that, which hopefully one day we'll have a vice principal, which would be able to allow for Curtis to be able to spread out a little bit more and give another voice out there. So we do have some big things happening, even with the staff. We have 3 new curriculums coming in this next year. So the teachers have their hands full trying to learn all that. I did not be a teacher. I don't know how people do it. It's, I think, one of the best things you can do, but holy crap, no way. Just wouldn't happen for me.
And, you know, as he said, St. John's is the 2nd largest church in the school. We're only about 15% Lutheran?
In total, I'd say 20.
Yeah, 20% Lutheran. And that's also reflected in our teachers. We're working on that. New principal, the new pastor, Herzberg, have been aggressive to try to increase the number of Lutheran teachers. We now have 3 called Lutheran teachers, a called principal finally, and they're working to get more Lutheran teachers in to the school to help expand the Lutheran education. There is a difference between when Kim's teaching catechism and when a non-Lutheran's teaching catechism.
Or when Megan's teaching catechism. My wife, she grew up Catholic. I'll rip on them. They don't know it. So she's learned quite a bit over these last 2 years as far as even just general stories of the Bible and what they mean. So yeah, there is a big difference between Kim and Megan at that point.
But we're working to really teach Lutheranism, teach the catechism, spread the word, and with proper doctrine.
I don't have anything else to say.
Yes.
When you started, you talked a lot about your struggles and challenges with kindergarten through 8 right now. Building a new high school, does building a new high school do anything to help relieve the K-8 pressure?
Yeah, so this building's gonna be 3 through 12. Yeah, so we're gonna relieve quite a bit. So we won't use the Presbyterian church other than using their green space for playground. But we will be able to put all of our 3 through 12 into that facility.
Yeah, in the pamphlet on the diagram of the school, so I think it's blue. The blue side is going to be the high school, and then the yellow side is going to be junior high and grade school. So there's going to be some separation of the ages, which is probably a good thing. But that number of additional classrooms is going to relieve our other needs.
And I think, I'm of the opinion it's gonna take a while for this high school to really kick off. You've got 5 kids coming in next year. I think if in 6 years you have a class of 20, I think that would be a success. There are some people on our committee who think that you're gonna get a bunch of people from Effingham and Stewartson and various communities that have K-8 right now. They're like, all right, we'll travel, we'll make the trip over. And if that's the case, that's great, because that'll obviously do a decent number on our numbers. But I personally think, my oldest is going into 5th grade this next year. If she has a big enough class, I would be thrilled as far as 20 people. I think that would be a success in my book. So the reason I said that is some of that side that is listed as high school, when we're going through 3 classes each year, we might be able to utilize some of that space as well.
And we're also building this with growth in mind. Off to the east, which would be off of the blue side, we have the space to add another 8 classrooms. If we need to build and add, and this building is going to be built with that in mind. So we'll even have some growth opportunity within the existing infrastructure. Other questions?
The teacher shortage, is there concern about staffing in high school?
I think staffing's always your biggest concern in whatever business you are. And it's a mission, but it's also a business, right? We have been extremely lucky that we have plenty of applicants this year. And my wife still has a lot of contacts in the school district. And they're not happy with the way things are going from the administrative side or with the new policies that are put in place. So we're getting a lot of contacts on that. Our biggest concern that we have is we can't even come close to competing financially with what the teachers are making in the school district. We don't pay, at this point in time, even 100% of district guidelines for our teachers, which is just shorter than what the school district has. What Curtis Woodkey has said is if we're getting an applicant from Mattoon, we're probably not gonna get them because of the financial disparity. But Charleston, we're pretty close. So it just depends on what school district you're going to. But yes, I mean, it wasn't last year or the year before, where are we gonna find a teacher to fill this person just quit or moved or whatever it might be. But God's always put somebody there for us. So we're happy with where we're at right now. Would I make some changes to it? Yeah, but I don't have that control.
We've been blessed in East Central Illinois to have a more conservative teacher base than you would find other places. And they're not, as you said, they're not happy with the state requirements, even with some of the district requirements. So we have a lot of good teachers that have come from the public school and have taken the pay cut, but then they're happier because they have a little more freedom within the school to teach and not indoctrinate. So our teacher shortage is that of Lutheran teachers. We've been I don't think we've ever started a year without a classroom filled with a teacher. We've gotten close. We've gotten into August where we need to do it.
And just to be clear, even if the teacher who is in the classroom is not Lutheran, then they're still required to teach Lutheran doctrine. So the kids still learn the catechism. It's not as if, say someone who isn't Lutheran comes in and they get to teach whatever they feel like. The school has laid out what religious education should be. And the kids go to chapel every
Wednesday.
Yep.
And Pastor I believe does the religious class for the 7th and 8th graders. So as they get into more detail, you have someone who's actually trained in the faith to be able to teach what we want them to hear.
We've had a teacher who came in unchurched, and she started attending, joined the choir, hasn't become a member, but it's also a mission to the teachers too. Having to learn it, to teach it, they're learning it. Any other questions? Yep.
What are the scores like for, do they do standardized testing in the elementary
So they-
school compared to public school?
Yeah, they do math testing, which they do 3 times a year. The previous principal, Trent Duckett, put something together. It was pre-COVID, so bear with me here. But the scores for our 7th and 8th graders, I'm going off a recollection here, were probably about 10% higher than the local school districts when you're looking at Mattoon and Charleston. And I want to say he added another school district in there, but I could be wrong. I haven't looked at that in a while. When Curtis came in, COVID did a number on everybody, right? He took a look at the fall math testing. He wasn't exactly happy, so there's a big push to get that back in. We also, to put this nicely, we started opening up more and placing kids based upon age for a couple of years, as opposed to doing an assessment. Like, if you ask my wife, she'll tell you we're St. John's, we need to be held to a higher standard. So if you are 6 years old, let's just say my daughter's gonna be 10. If you come in and you test at 10, but you should be in 4th grade as opposed to 5th grade, you should be put in 4th grade. And that's the standard bit more about academics as opposed to what you're seeing in the public school system, who sometimes it's a daycare system for them.
Instead of public subsidized daycare, you've got parents that are actively involved in education.
Exactly.
Sharing what's happening in the school as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Anecdotally, the teachers in the high schools are very happy with St. John's kids. They're more advanced than the kids coming out of Matthew Middle School. We also ran into, with COVID, we didn't mask, and we stayed in school for the second week.
Yeah.
And the state removed our accreditation, which doesn't matter because we're accredited. Our accreditation is national through the Lutheran School Association. But both Mattoon and Charleston said that they don't care, that they'll accept our 8th graders regardless of accreditation. Because they know that our kids are educated to a higher level than their own.
One more question, what type of extracurriculars will be available, or is planned to be available to the students?
As far as sports or,
Yes.
Yeah, so currently we have-
Or things that they can take out of school to competitively move on into the, higher education environment.
yeah. Currently we have baseball, golf, cross country, archery, basketball, volleyball. We don't have a band. We probably won't have like an ROTC program. But from a sports perspective, I think most of the, other than football, most sports probably will be available to the high school. We've got a pretty decent class of girls coming up, so softball's gonna be high on our priority list pretty quick. So if you know anyone who can teach how to throw underhand, let me know, because I can't do that. So I'm trying to think if there's, we do have soccer.
And we have the gardening club, or we did have a gardening club, which will be coming back, I believe. We have a lot of volunteers who are eager to get in and teach the kids something for extracurricular. Right now, it's basically depending on the desires of the kids. So we have a pretty large cross-country program, and it was asked, do you want to do track? And it was very tepid response. We're still gonna have cross-country, but track was available, they just didn't really want to do it. That can change. We have teachers that are eager, we have a lot of members and volunteers from the congregation. The archery program is 100% volunteers from the congregation. And we have over 100 kids in archery. And last year, we had a 7th grade girl who won state for all girls, high school, everything. So there's a lot of opportunities and good, successful programs.
And some of that, when he was saying, we used to have quite a bit of attrition once you get to 6th grade, because at that point their parents were saying, all right, we're gonna move over, this is the time for us to, all the schools are combined, we're gonna move over and do the public. And that hasn't been the case. We've been able to keep all of our kids these last couple of years. A couple of the best athletes in the district are with us, which has helped us. We had a really good basketball season, 7th and 8th grade boys basketball season, a pretty decent baseball team this year. So we're able to continue on and have some success, especially if you're going to be in a small school or a small school system. I guess 1A, we'll have some success is our goal, because I'd like to win.
8th grade boys went to state in basketball, baseball won regionals. So it's not just there's opportunity to play, there's opportunity to succeed.
So from the building funds needed, you said you got some from COVID that amounted to a little under $1 million. The rest of it all just local raised money, state, there's no state funds available for
Not that we can
parochial
find.
school building?
Before Dale Ryder was on the school board, I asked him if there was anything that we could get. Once he became the school board, he stopped communicating on that subject. But everything has been locally funded. We have a $1 million donor, which has been huge for us. And then we have donors anywhere after that between $300,000 and $5 in reality. I continually try to look for items through the state, but we just haven't been able to find anything.
From an operation ongoing, just to fund the operations and I'm assuming there's tuition for the students. Does that pretty much cover the ongoing operation, or will you still need, what percentage of support from congregations, from?
So so St. John's, budget is, I'm getting it, $150 a year.
To
into
support
it,
the school?
To support the school. The rest of it's tuition. Now, there's a school lunch program, which we kind of have to be in.
So you don't get
There's
state
actually
funds
one
for school either?
We do get a little
Per
bit,
student.
from the feds for Title I, but that's ran through the school district, so Curtis works with them as far as how we get reimbursed for those expenses. But no, there's no other state funding. There are some, it's due to, I think, this year, that like a state credit that you could get on your personal tax return, which you direct to a certain school. We haven't utilized that very much. If they do revamp that, we'll start pushing that, but it's, no, nothing else that we get.
We do try to stay separate so that they can't hold anything over us. They tried to do that with the accreditation. And it didn't mean anything, but it just kind of reinforced that we need to stay separate where we can.
We, I did a calculation this year. I think that our price for students around $5,200. We just, this next year have cleared the $4,000 mark per student for tuition. So the rest of that's covered through, the members of St. John's.
And we have a very active fundraising committee made up of parents and members, but mostly parents, that, like you said, did $250,000 at the auction this last year. They have a few other fundraisers they do throughout the year that routinely will clear $50,000. And then they were aggressive at helping us pay off the debt for the old building. We got that paid off well ahead of time, and now they're going to help us work on this as well.
Tuition different for a Lutheran member versus a just general attendee?
Not in our structure, but congregations, St. John's offers a discount to our members. St. Paul's, Dorans, they as a church offer up the difference in cash.
I want to say that the St. John membership would get a $600 a year discount, and.
But through the church, it's not through
Right,
from the school.
right. And, well, okay, let me clarify that. We're all under one budget, okay? So it's just, you're gonna pay less, so your revenue number at the top is gonna be $600 shorter than if, John Doe down the street.
And
That makes
to,
sense?
and to that, we're a unified organization. That way the church, hate to use the word control, but the church controls the school. There is oversight from the Board of Elders on what's being taught. There's oversight from the church council on what's being spent. The budget is all run through the voters' assembly. So it's not a separate entity from the church. It is a mission of the church and part of the church.
The other discount is that, all teachers, their kids go for free, which helps make it all different. We have all our insurance and my HSA through Megan, and she bought home $250 the other day. She was pretty disappointed about that. But when you get free tuition and your health insurance is through there, it makes up quite a bit.
Any other questions?
How do we do on time?
We're
still
good here, we got a few minutes.
Yeah, a few minutes.
I think there is a real difference between a parochial school. Well, first, Lutheran parochial education it's a hallmark of who we are, at least as the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. So it used to be, when you planted a congregation, it was a requirement to have a school in order to meet the educational needs of the children of that congregation. They don't do that anymore. It's not in the constitution of the LCMS, but I mean, we run an enormous parochial school system here in the United States. And not only that, a lot of these, I don't know about St. John's, but when we were in St. Louis, the parochial schools there, at least the high schools, fed into the Concordia system universities as well. And so, again, you know, we operate 6 universities in the United States, 2 seminaries, And there are scholarships designed for those who are Missouri Synod members as well. And so, I mean, essentially you can keep your child in our own denomination, in our own church body, from preschool all the way to university.
And St. John's has already fed one of our students into seminary.
Yeah, so I mean, it is a wonderful thing. It's part of our sort of community aspect and who we are as being Lutheran. But I will say there is a big difference between, oh, there's my wife, a called teacher and someone who isn't called. So you think about, when you talk about involvement in child's life and into the education of them, a called teacher takes vows. In fact, we talked about that last Sunday in confirmation. They take vows that change who they are. They commit themselves to the things that we believe, not just in small catechism, but in the entire Book of Concord. And they commit themselves to the ministry and teaching. It is a ministry of the children of that school and congregation and whatnot as well. So, you know, not to poo-poo public school teachers, but there is a difference. I mean, they don't take those vows. And so when you talk about somebody making less money, it is an aspect of the ministry that you're in service to Christ's church and to the people of God when you teach as a called teacher. So just like any called worker, pastor, or whatever the other variety of called workers they have. So I think it does. I think it does make a difference, and I think there's a great value in Lutheran education, especially as things progress. Because again, you know, maybe not here in Sullivan at the moment, but our state has very aggressive LGBT educational requirements. And I can talk to you more about that. We did a whole Bible study last summer on it almost, going through those. And they start all the way in preschool. So if you'd like the state of Illinois curriculum for preschool on LGBT, they do it. And again, we don't get to decide what's right or wrong, but we put ourselves under the Word of God. And so, because we are His people. And so the state doesn't get to replace the church, and the state doesn't get to replace God. And so, you know, parochial schools help to counteract that.
And to your point, it probably hasn't come to Sullivan just yet, but Mattoon's the only school district in the region that has passed the sexual education curriculum. So it's 20 miles away. And I was extremely disappointed with our school district that happened, having a son that's in that. So it's pretty close, and which is why I have jumped on board with this pretty hard.
So we are asking for your help. If you can, you can bless us with a donation, whether a one-time or a pledge for over the next 3 years, to help us get this built so we can educate the children in better education and also in God's Word.
How do we reach out? Like, if you want to make a pledge, how do we?
Screen pledge cards?
Yeah, there should be.
No, there's not.
There's not?
I will give you my cell phone number, and we will touch base.
That would probably be a good idea, just put the bulletin.
Yeah, I think
pass
we
it
can.
back
If
on.
you don't know, too, I mean, JC is with us in Matins every Wednesday,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and we do. I mean, with St. John's, our men's group in the evening on Thursday meets jointly together too. So,
Yeah, very close ties between St. John's and.
but yeah, I'll put that in the bulletin, and yeah, we can definitely make that.
We'll send over a handful of pledge cards that hopefully the pastor can potentially hand out and turns on that too. At this point, I think we have we set a goal of I think 50 or so major donors, which is over $10,000 considered a major donor. We hit that. We set a goal of about 600 total donors, not even close. So right now, our biggest phase is to get out and talk to as many people as possible to
our initial silent phase was so much more than we could have expected. Maybe even double what we were planning on the silent phase. And
I'm gonna interrupt, that's not true, because we put down numbers and we wanted to get to I think 3.5, and Curtis came back and told all the teachers, if they get to even half of that, these people are crazy, there's no way they're getting that much money, and we hit it. So it was, or maybe just a little bit lower than that, but it was pretty impressive how the community came together all along.
any other questions? Brian, close out.
Before we do that, thank you guys for listening and putting up with us. You know the Hagans aren't exactly the best public speakers, so that was fun.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. When they're done, I hit the little button, but I didn't do
Oh,
anything else.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.